I try to take as much time to do that as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like being a leader, and that's kind of a part of the independence piece too. Like I want people to see me as successful and independent, and therefore they can be autonomous and successful and independent while we're also a part of a team. Going back to my connection, like I really love being a part of a team. I really love having like a common mission and a common goal with other people. Hence why I have a group practice. I want to lift other people up. I want to like collaborate and have ideas with other people. And I want to nurture those relationships. And that also comes into the relationships that I have with my family. Like, do I spend more time connecting and collaborating and spending time with them? And then my other value is spending time by myself and being independent and creative in that way. And so, yeah, these two really big values can sometimes butt heads in my life.
Hey you, Brooke Jean here with Brooke Jean unPerfected. I'm a licensed professional counselor, coach, mama, and your keep it real guide to the freedom that's available to you in a life unperfected. If you're a high-achieving, perfectionistic, often anxious woman feeling stuck, frozen, and maybe even downright frustrated, you're in the right place. If you're anything like me, you've done everything society told you to do that would promise you success. You've got the job, you've got the husband, you've got the car, you've got the vacations, you've got the 401k, and yet underneath it all, when you're really honest with yourself, you're deeply disconnected and unfulfilled. Here is where we talk about letting go of who you think you're supposed to be so that you can get busy creating a life that you actually love. Everything healing, revealing, and rising is on the table. And we don't hold anything back around here. So buckle up, babe, because you are entering a vortex of your most juicy transformation. One where we dethrone perfectionism so you can access more energy, creativity, and vitality. I am so happy and grateful that you are here. Welcome back, Mama. Brooke Jean here. I'm your host of the unPerfected Pod, and I'm so friggin' happy and grateful you're here. This week on the podcast, I got to sit down with an unPerfected Mastermind alum, and I just have to tell you, catching up with her and seeing all of the extraordinary things that she is doing just lights my soul on fire. So Stephanie Conter O'Hara, LPC ACS, is passionate about making space in the world for everyone to be themselves and live in the most connected and authentic way that they can. She's a mom, podcaster of Redefining Us, licensed mental health therapist, group practice owner of Well-Minded Counseling, and author of the new workbook, Becoming Mommy. She truly loves to help people explore their relationships with themselves and believes that we should all surround ourselves with more opportunities to connect with our village. Oh my gosh, you guys, we talked about living a life in alignment with your values, especially as a mom and especially as a working mom. We talked about our process of coming home to ourselves and figuring out what lights us up and how do we weave that into our personal and professional worlds. We talk about the distorted thinking that happens postpartum and real therapeutic tools to help you manage your mind and remember your enoughness. We talk about, as women, we need to support each other's differences in the ways that we choose to mother and celebrate and join sisterhood instead of criticizing each other. This and so much more. I know you guys are going to love this conversation. I'm so freaking proud of the things that this powerhouse mama is doing. And if you are interested in joining the next cohort of the unPerfected Mastermind, it's only once a year, guys. So it'll be in March of 2026. Make sure that you get on the waiting list. You can privately message me to add your name. But these women that joined this very special container with me for 6 months end up doing really cool shit in their lives. And I couldn't be more honored to walk alongside them. So enjoy, grab your favorite cup of coffee, maybe your journal, because there's a lot of juicy takeaways here, and enjoy the show. Welcome back, Mama, to the unPerfected Pod. We are so happy and grateful that you are here. Today, I feel like I just get to celebrate this amazing woman, this amazing mom, this amazing business owner that is with us today. I've known her personally for quite some time now. I am in her corner. I'm one of her biggest fans. And we were literally just squealing a second ago about the fact that she is officially a published freaking author. Let's go, baby. Oh my God. Okay, can we start with that and we'll just work our way back? Tell me what your piece is. Tell me what your book is. You said it's a workbook. I want to know all the things.
Yeah. So the workbook really was inspired after my own experience of becoming a mom. The book is called Becoming Mommy. And it's really a journey and labor of love. I think like I was like, oh, I'm going to finish this in like 2 months.
And then how it goes.
And then motherhood was like, you are not doing that.
Look how cute we are when we don't know. But we need that naivete to start straight up. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. And so the workbook is really about, as a mother, figuring out what your values are now, because your values prior to motherhood were probably similar, but now you have another human to take care of and your identity has shifted and your time and energy are now allocated in different ways. And so knowing how to practice your values in this different role, in this different place, I think can be really helpful for women figuring out who they are in this moment, not who they were or who they hope to be in the future, but like in the moment of becoming a mother, in the early journey and phases of that. So yeah, the workbook is kind of all about that. I'm like ignoring the opinions, which you're going to get like 50,000 of
a day
about how to do things, about who you should be as a mother, how you should parent your child, et cetera, et cetera. It's really endless. And so the workbook is really focused on like figuring out who you want on your team and in your village by determining like what your values are and how you want to show up for yourself, as well as how you want to show up for your family.
Girl, this is so needed. Like when I had my epiphany moment nursing Chloe, when I was like trying to keep up with all the perfectionistic ideals of what I should be like, what my relationship should be. Like when I had my this is impossible, fuck it moment, I'm unsubscribing from everything society is telling me it means I'm a good enough mom, wife, person. And I'm going to lead from my values and I'm going to do what lights me up. Like if I would have had your workbook during that time, because that's what I needed. Like I needed that reminder that it was okay to unsubscribe from all of the noise and to like turn my attention inward to who I am and lead with that. But then to have like a guide for that self-exploration is just freaking beautiful. Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel like, okay, how old is your daughter now?
19 months.
I was going to say 2. So, she's so freaking cute.
Thank you.
Do you feel like becoming a mother made you different or more of who you really are?
That's a really good question.
We're still figuring it out.
Well, I think that's part of it, but right. I want to say a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think maybe it drew to light how my 2 most prominent values often like conflict, and having a baby really drew attention to that. So my 2 biggest values, and of course people can have different values, so this is not like you should have these values as a mother at all. So just throw that out in the trash. But yeah. My biggest values are independence and connection.
Oh, for the love of all. And this is why we're constantly dissatisfied in life. Okay. Yes. Independence and connection. Wow. Okay. Say more. Whoa.
Yeah. So my independence has led me to be a business owner. I don't really like doing things the way that other people maybe are doing them. I don't like feeling like I have to follow like a certain model. Like I want to create the model. I enjoy doing things on my own time, in my own pace. I enjoyed being by myself.
Yeah.
I enjoy,
Okay for us to say that here. We can
yeah.
say that out loud here and not be deemed antisocial, not happy and grateful to be moms. Like alone time is like juicy now. It
Mhm.
is the best.
Yes, yes. And I try
Oh,
to take as much time to do that as I can.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like being a leader, and that's kind of a part of the independence piece too. Like I want people to see me as successful and independent, and therefore they can be autonomous and successful and independent while we're also a part of a team. Going back to my connection, like I
Mm-hmm.
really love being a part of a team. I really love having like a common mission and a common goal with other people. Hence why I have a group practice. I want to lift other people up. I want to like collaborate and have ideas with other people. And I want to nurture those relationships. And that also comes into the relationships that I have with my family. Like, do I spend more time connecting and collaborating and spending time with them? And then my other value is spending time by myself and being independent and creative in that way. And so, yeah, these two really big values can sometimes butt heads in my life. And
Yeah.
so, part of the going back to the workbook, I felt like once I figured that out, I was like, holy shit, no wonder why. Like, I'm kind of all over the place. And like knowing those things about me really helped me ground a little bit more and like, oh, of course this is hard for me. Like, of course there's going to be moments where I lean one way and then lean the other. It's not a solid like I know exactly what I want to do all the time, and like that's just not my story. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to honor that for other women too.
Yeah. So the workbook helped you figure out that it was those two, connection and independence.
Well,
Or did you figure it out and outside of the workbook?
yeah, so I figured that out my own therapy. So I always push other people to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Therapists need therapy too.
Yep.
So with my own therapist, I did that exploration work. And then
Mm.
I was also kind of making this workbook on the side.
Mm.
Workbook also talks a lot about advocating for yourself and like finding your voice, which I feel like was a lot of the work that Brooke helped me work on, as well as like other people in my life. And so there's a big component of that because I don't think if I had my voice or knew what my voice was, it was going to be really hard for me to find out like what my values were because I was paying attention to other people's voices and other people's ideas. And so I think it's, yeah, multifaceted, the journey. Hence why the
I
workbook has multiple themes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So now that you know that, babe, now that you know I have these two conflicting values, what adjustments have you made to your day-to-day life to try to find fulfillment?
Yeah. Allowing there to be time for both. I think in the first year of my daughter's life, I really struggled with this all or nothing. I either have to be all connected
Mm.
or all independent, or I had to give up being independent, having independence to be connected.
Mm.
I had this very, especially the first like 7 to 8 months, which I know is like this baby absolutely like quote unquote needs a human to be there. But I thought that I had to be the only one that was like available. And I had some like irrational thoughts around that. So day to day now, rather than feeling like I have to 100% be connected with her, otherwise I'm not connected, like giving myself that permission to be like, no, like I also need to have time for myself and to be independent. And this isn't just one or the other. And so one, giving myself permission for that daily.
Yes.
Two, like making time for each daily is really helpful for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that same belief with Camden. I felt like quote unquote good moms. So I had this idea in my head of what a good mom was. They spent and this is not even an exaggeration, this was a true belief that I had. They spent every waking second they could with their child. Every possible second. And because of that, I had already felt so much guilt that I worked a really intense job that pulled me. And then I also had to share my son with his dad, and I hated that too. So what it led me down is, instead of understanding that it's about presence and quality of presence when you're with your children versus quantity, is I burnt myself out because I was working this really intense job, 50, 60 hours a week. And then every spare second was like, I wanted to be at everything. I was volunteering at every, thing I could volunteer at. I was chaperoning everything. I never missed a practice. I never missed a game. I never missed books at night. It was like the pressure. And it was like, I wanted to be the same quality, quote unquote, of mom as the stay-at-home moms were. Like, you would never know that I had a fucking big job over here. But then I did have a big job over here. And that's part of the recipe for disaster that led to burnout. Mm-hmm. And what's really true for me is that while I love being a mom and I love working, the way that I was doing both was so misaligned with my values that it made me literally sick. So I love that you said, first of all, reminding yourself that this is okay and this is who you are and that we need space for these things, having space each day for all the above, and staying away from the rigidity of the dualistic thinking. I'm either an involved mom or I'm terrible. I'm either present or totally not available. Can we double click on that for a minute and talk about some of the crazy shit we tell ourselves as moms, especially in the postpartum area? So you had mentioned that you were having some thoughts. Let's go there.
Yeah. So I had used Dr. Google to research about different things. And one of the things that I had read was that in order for your child to have like secure attachment, and they need to be like securely attached to somebody in the first 6 months. And I twisted that to mean that they could only be securely attached to one person.
To you.
Not just, to me. I made that all about me. Not that they had a secure attachment available with my partner, or they had a secure attachment with other family members or with their daycare workers. Like, I made it to be like, I have to literally give up everything that I have available in my life to be this quote unquote secure attached figure to my daughter. And so this irrational belief really led me down, I think, a bunch of other trails of like, how do I ensure that she gets enough food? How do I ensure that she gets enough sleep? Her brain development's not going to be what it needs to be. If she doesn't sleep this much, she's going to be underfed. Like, I really obsessed about a lot of things. And that's like what I classify what I had as like more postpartum OCD, because it did impact like all aspects of my life for the first like 6 or 7 months. And that could be a whole nother podcast talking about that specific experience. But I would say that having those very rigid thoughts about her attachment really like shot around to a bunch of different areas. And so kind of reminding myself now, and even like closer to like the 7 to 8 month mark, like, oh wow, like she can also have a really great relationship with my husband. It doesn't have to just be like a really good relationship with me.
Yeah.
And that has some historical fears baked in there about how like I as a person need to like be the best and like be perfect, and like because no one else can do it the way that I can do it. A lot of black and white thinking that was really triggered during that time.
Yeah, I feel that's so relatable, Steph. Like, Dr. Google really messed some things up for us.
Yes.
Like when I was raising Camden and there was no Dr. Google, or maybe it was new and I just didn't give a F, I wasn't stressing about these details. Like, I remember with Chloe, when I would burp her, I would count. So I would burp her to make sure that I got a proper 60 taps in and to get her burps. And so I was like so concerned about the perfect burping that then we would be on a walk and I would be counting in my head. And so it was just like coming into everything. And I was like, I don't remember Camden burping even once. Okay. I don't recall there being this much obsession about the burps. I don't recall there being this much obsession about brain development, about food, like all of it. And listen, I want us to take the very best care of our kids. And what's also true is before we had this overflow of information, we were still taking good care of our kids. You know, like when I was just loving my child from like who I am as a person, as a mother, my heart, my gut instinct as a mom, there was still so much good there for Camden without all the extra pressures Dr. Google puts on us.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that stark difference. And the truth be told is I don't know if Chloe's going to end up any healthier than Camden is because I obsessed for fucking 6 years over this stuff. Or if I actually was a less fun mom because I was stressed about all those things. So it's such a like conundrum us moms go through where our biggest fear is doing it wrong, not being good enough, repeating cycles. And now we have this like overflow of information about how to do it right. And then like all the theories like conflict with each other. And then we have social media that plasters everybody's highlights. And so we are just sitting and spinning. And then if you have any sort of anxiety, you know, perfectionism, control, all those tend to have a similar flavor inside of our minds and our nervous systems. Postpartum just exacerbates that to a whole new level. And I was thinking crazy thoughts. I was imagining scary things. And I just want to normalize that. What did you do to navigate that sensitive time?
Well,
did you realize, because you're a therapist, did you realize that they were irrational thoughts? Or did that take some time? Because I figured that out. Yeah.
I was fighting myself, especially early on. Like I had an irrational fear probably from like 4 weeks on that she was going to like stop breathing in the middle of the night, or I was going to fall down while holding her.
Oh my God.
And I would combat those thoughts. I would try to like be like therapizing my brain of like, okay, this is just a fear. Like This is just a fear. This isn't really going to happen. And I don't know whether technology is good or not. We got one of those like little foot monitors that like monitors her breathing while she sleeps.
And that gave me some peace.
And it did give me some peace. Not every person that I've talked to, those things help them, but that helped me. And then it's not gonna sound crazy, but I did fall while holding her when I was like maybe 5 months postpartum. Colorado's icy, y'all. And like that shit comes up out of nowhere, and I fell and I was holding her and my body did the craziest thing. And honestly, it was like a blessing in disguise where I like literally twisted mid-air. So I would protect her. And of course I ended up being like super bruised. Wow. But after that experience, I was like, oh wow, like maybe there is some like natural instinct in this, because I was telling my story. The story was, I don't know what to do. I have no motherly instinct. Like, how am I ever going to get through this? Like, I don't know what to do at all. But my body in that moment knew what to do, which gave me a sense of relief of like, oh, wow, like if I can protect her from my worst fear of dropping her, that was going to be my fault that she got hurt. And my whole body responded in a way to protect her. Like, of course I can do this.
Oh my God, I have full body chills. This is really important. I need all mamas to lean in here. If you weren't really fully paying attention before, this is your invitation. We have got to trust ourselves as mothers. Mm-hmm. We know what we need to do. We have what it takes. We're exactly the parents our babies need. Our bodies do miraculous things. Like, we have it, girl. And boy, have we forgotten that, haven't we? And so, yeah, like, how do we continue to trust in our instincts and like embody our power, and not in like an egotistical way, but in like a, because I am mommy, I know I will, without even trying, protect my baby till the end of the end. Period. Good night. And can that like be the thing, the evidence that helps us when we're literally battling our own anxieties and the scary things our brain wants to say? Plus, that's wild that you literally manifested your biggest fear. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. Why does that happen? And I think that it needed to, because it reminded you of the truth, which is, of course you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had those thoughts. And I think you've shared this, whether in this podcast or in other times that I've heard you talking about like late at night nursing, feeling like someone else could like do this better.
Yeah.
I definitely had those thoughts. I really thought like, gosh, like if there was another mom here that just like knew what to do, like that would be great, because they could like make sure that the right thing was happening. Because I don't know if I'm making sure that right thing is happening or that I can do this. And so, yeah, that inner trust, even though it came out of like this not so great instance where I slipped and fell on the ice, I do think like it reminded me like, oh shit, Stephanie, like, you know what to do. Like, and you can do this. And then my little 3 Enneagram self came back suddenly in that moment too. And was like, look how much shit that I've fucking done in my life. I have overcome so many things and gotten so far just from my own natural like instincts. Like, I can do this too.
Boom. And I can vouch for you, girl, because I remember when you had first moved to Colorado from Florida and you were starting your counseling business and you came to me as a coach. And now here you are with multiple locations, group practice, a successful podcast, a published author, a thriving family, like, and none of this was handed to you. I know the internal things you continue to overcome to meet these versions of you that are doing the damn thing. So yes. What do we call that as therapists? That's just like looking for the evidence of enoughness. It's like when you start doubting yourself, mama, look at how far you've come. We love looking ahead. Well, I still need to do this and I still need to do that. And it's like, cool. But look at what you did today, this morning by 11 a.m., like you were sharing with me before we hit record. We've already solved the world's problems, bitch. And it's 11:27 because that's how we do as mothers. What have you done this year? What have you done this decade? What have you overcome? Like, what childhood wounds have you healed? Like, it's actually kind of a miracle that you are where you are and that you're doing what you're doing and that you have what you have. And how often are you pausing to soak that in as evidence of why it's enough and why you have what it takes to figure out whatever this current thing is that's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, my practice could be better. I do think it helps though that I do think about this more on a scheduled basis now. Like, I have at least like every other week I meet with somebody on my team where we go over like, all right, what have we accomplished in this past week? What are we going to do the next couple weeks? So from like a business perspective, I think I have like a routine down, but like personally, I want to preach that like you could do it more often than I'm doing it. But what helps me come down from my anxiety is thinking to myself like, okay, Stephanie, like, you're anxious about money, you're anxious about your health, you're anxious about these things that are out of your control. But look what's happened every single time when something has been at least somewhat in your influence, like you've been able to get it back on track. So just, it helps me come down from my anxiety spirals. But yeah, I probably could do a better job at like checking in with it more often. But it is the best coping skill that I've found when I'm in the height of my anxiety, of reminding myself like, holy shit, like, you can do hard things and you've done all these hard things. So like, what makes you think you can't do this hard thing right now?
Yeah, it's so true. And like, that we have to stop believing our thoughts. We have to, guys. Your thoughts, we still don't even understand where the hell they're coming from. We cannot get to the bottom scientifically of why we have such disturbing, annoying thoughts. However, most of them, in my belief, are coming from just wanting to protect you and keep you safe and make sure that you stay alive. I mean, your brain has evolved just to keep you safe. And so if all your brain is doing is looking for problems and reasons you need to stay safe, you have to know that 90% of what you think isn't true. The you that's observing your thought is so much bigger. Your thoughts are just one piece. And so I think when you can really try to absorb this message of like, thoughts are not real. I don't have to believe everything I think. I am bigger than my thoughts. You put this like distance between you and the thought so that you can examine. I will say this is harder to do when you're like in the depths of hell in your postpartum, right? Like when you're spinning out, you sometimes don't know you're spinning out.
Yeah. I think it's really helpful to know what your personality or what your predisposition is for the way that you think going into this, because I do think that really saved me in postpartum, like knowing that I tend to lean a little bit towards like what is success and how can I define it and how can I achieve that, and that being like one of the main motivators for me to do things and for me to see the world through is like, how successful am I being in this place, and what are other people thinking about my success. So those two things, because they're part of my personality, and knowing that going into postpartum really helped me stay grounded in like, okay, Stephanie, like you need to let go of like doing this successfully because it's going to be messy.
Yeah.
You need to let go of what other people think about whether or not you're doing this successfully, because they don't know what it's like for you day in and day out being here with your kid. Like when they're screaming their head off, when they're puking, when they're pooping, when they're doing all of the things that babies do. Like you can't measure success in the way that you measured success at work, at school, in life. Now that you're a mom, you can't use that same measuring stick of success on this. You just can't. You need to let go of that. So knowing that was the way that I saw the world was really helpful. So I always like promote that you figure out like, what is your personality like type for the Enneagram. I'm kind of a big Enneagram person. So if you know what your Enneagram like personality type is, I think that can also help prepare you for like seeing how you typically see the world, and like so you can observe it differently rather than just like being in the trenches and not having any awareness.
That's so good. And how would you recommend that we as mamas redefine success in motherhood?
That's a great question. I think it has to do, going back to the values, like if you can act in alignment with your values and what's important to you, and you're showing up in the way that's of an alignment with what's important to you, like I feel like you can't go wrong. Like if you think it's really important for your kid, I have a friend who's a PT and she's really big on like gross motor skills because that's it. And she like was really adamant about like, my kids need to do really well in this like one area because it's like really important to me. And I found myself as a 3 and as a mom being like, oh God, maybe gross motor skills is the most important to me. Like maybe this is what I need to like focus on as a mom, is like making sure that they're strong and like independent. And I was just so focused on that. And then I have another mom who grew up in more of a collectivist society and like having a village around them, and was really focused on like making sure that her son was like a good like participant in the family unit and like helpful. And that I was like, oh, maybe that's what I need to focus on, like training her to be like super helpful. Like she needs to like help me empty the dishwasher. She needs to help me do all of these things.
At one, you're like, get going, girl, get going, get that laundry done, boo. We're a community. This is a commune. This is a commune, and you are a part.
And so when I finally like observed to myself, like, wow, Stephanie, these are important to these other moms. And that's what they're labeling as being successful.
Oh, so good. Yes.
Like, what do I, Stephanie, value and want to label as like me being a successful parent?
Yes.
And I finally came to, which makes, how do I say this? Which was probably pretty clear to most people who are therapists, that this would probably be a therapist-like goal. Because I was like, I want her to help regulate her emotions. Like that is what I value. And so I don't want to give up on gross motor skills, because obviously she needs gross motor skills. And I'm not going to like give up on her being a helper and like a contributor to the
I'm done.
group.
Gross motor skills are out. I don't give a shit if you walk, okay? But if you And you can turn that cry into magic, baby. We're solid golds.
But I decided to use like what my
Yes.
superpower was, what
Yes.
I valued, what I know I am good at, to be the focus. If I can give my daughter the skills of helping to regulate her emotions, to help her feel securely attached, that's what like my objective is. And that's going to be the guiding light for the way that I parent. Now, if other parents have other things that are important to them and valuable,
Cool.
go at it. But like I need to let go of that, because like if I focus on too many things, that's only going to create more distress for me as a parent.
Yes.
And for my own identity as who I want to be as a mother.
Yes. This is the message. And it's like, for me, I think us as mothers being authentic in who we are and being lit up by the life that we have because we're in alignment with what we value is one of the best parenting hacks you will ever have. And then if we raise our children to like themselves, to be good humans, then they relate well to others. I tend to believe that a lot of shit will get figured out if that's our foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and also like I could care less what other moms' main things are. Like if sports is your thing, go off. If healthy meals is your thing, go off. If living outside is your thing, like I think it's all beautiful. It's what makes the fabric of diversity. But for me personally, when I'm trying to keep up with all of these society expectations of what a good mom does, well, now I'm watering down my authenticity, which is watering down my magnetic energy. And like, I think my kids seeing me lit up about my life is one of the best things I can like model for them, and that they are deserving of living a life that makes them feel the same way. And then like, as they grow, we start to like follow their lead of what they're passionate about, you know? And like, but I want my kids to be who they really are. And I want them to like themselves like deeply, because I just feel like that solves a lot of fucking problems, doesn't it?
I feel like it could definitely help most people view the world differently, and therefore in turn hopefully help society as a whole. But I get it, like you mentioned, like other people have other values, and I think that's what like makes society so diverse and so hopefully like communal. But like I can't focus on what all the other moms think is important. I just need to focus on like what I think is important. Again, I'm not gonna like poo poo like being a helper, or like poo poo enjoying being outside, but like I just can't focus on all the things all the time. And I need to, and I guess my message for other women is like, let yourself be who you are as a mother.
Yes.
Rather than feel like you need to be like, you know, Sarah who loves to, I don't know, go to gymnastics every weekend. Like you don't have to love going to gymnastics every weekend with your kid.
No, you don't. And trust yourself. Like trust that like whatever that authentic expression is, that it's beautiful and it's enough and it's what your kids need. And that doesn't mean that we can't still get together as mothers and as sisters and teach each other things. Like I am curious about the mom who's an expert at gross motor skills. Like, give me the information. I don't even know what falls into the damn category of gross motor skills, but I'm interested. But what I'm not going to do anymore, I have these beautiful thing called boundaries where I can gather information and I can learn from my sisters and I can even applaud them and celebrate them. But then at my own pace, I can choose to weave it into my world or not. And I think we need to stop judging each other for what we value and just start celebrating each other for how different it gets to be. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's so cool when I see moms that are just like hardcore into their kids' sports or hardcore into their own art or hardcore into travel with their families, or, you know, everyone's like bucking the school system now. And I'm like, oh my God, should I be taking my kid out of the school system now? I'm like, Brooke, we can't even figure out what's for dinner. We are not figuring out the school system in this lifetime. That can be Chloe's conundrum in her, right? So it's like, I think we should celebrate each other. And I think we should be like clapping for each other when we're living in alignment versus like, oh, how dare she, go on a retreat by herself, or how dare she go out? How dare she dress like that? How dare she take her kid out of school? She doesn't make her kid go to church. Her kids talk like that at the dinner table. It's like, shut up. We're all doing the best we can. And
Mm-hmm.
us shaming each other is part of this collective conditioning that we are unhooking from.
I think it's really important that you're talking about this, but also I want to label, like, try to be mindful as a mom of like the way that you're labeling other parents' behaviors. Like, I've heard moms say things like, oh, you're going to spoil your kid if you do this. Oh, you're going to teach them to be entitled if you do this. Oh, you're bending over backwards. You're too gentle. You're too whatever. And just like, yeah, we need to let go of like labeling other parents' actions unless it's like actually harmful to
And
the child.
abusive. Yeah. We're not okay with that.
Yes, we're not okay with that. But like, if you're just doing the best that you can, like letting in other parents are doing the best that they can, like let them do it the way that they're going to do it, rather than sitting on the sidelines and be like, don't kiss your kid too much, you're going to spoil them.
Oh my God. Yes. The latest research says that we can't show too much affection to our babies.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hold them too much. They don't become entitled. They don't become clingy. That's actually not true. Human beings are a little more complex than, a wild animal that you're taming that you brought in from outside. And
humans
also
thrive on connection. Like, that's literally what we all want to be, is connected to one another. So like, if your child wants to be connected to you, let them be connected.
Yeah. And also, like, it's okay if that triggers you and you have to like hug them and then give them to dad, or hug them and give them to auntie. Like, that's okay too. But like, yeah, the whole like, we're just like making these assumptions of outcomes that we're never actually going to follow up on. It's like, really, are you going to follow up to see if my kid ended up entitled or broke because they did this? Or are you going to follow up? Go ahead and follow up. But like, yeah, those labels are dangerous. I agree. So what has been the thing that has changed the most for you professionally in your business and your mission and your magic since becoming a mom?
Yeah, I think going back to that independence piece, like I was head first into my group practice, and I still really value my group practice and think it's like a really big part of my professional identity. But I've really enjoyed like exploring like, what are Stephanie's like independent pursuits? What are the things that maybe I see myself moving towards in the future that are more in alignment with like who Stephanie is, rather than this group practice that Stephanie is building. And feeling like I needed both of those, going back to my values of like independence and connection. Like, I feel like both of them are really gonna allow me to have the career that I want to, rather than feeling like this is just the career that I have.
Yeah. So what are some of those individual pursuits that you've been taking?
Well, I've already talked about the workbook, and I'm hoping to write other books as well. I'd like to focus more on creating trainings for other people speaking about maternal mental health. I have one that I'm currently working on that I'm going to pilot in my group practice and hopefully launch to the public sometime this summer, about modern motherhood. So I guess stay tuned for that. Anyone that's following Well-Minded Counseling's like Instagram and whatnot. And yeah, my podcast, Redefining Us. That's really been a great journey of talking to other mothers and other women who are redefining themselves as they transition from different phases of their career, different phases of their life. So that's like a really good passion project for me as well. So yeah, those are like my more independent pursuits outside of being the owner of Well-Minded Counseling.
Yes. So I think that's important too. Like, we do get to pivot. We get to change our minds. We get to do things differently as we go through these rite of passages, becoming women, becoming wives, becoming mothers. And so I love that you've built this group practice, the well-minded counseling, and that's your baby and that's your thing. And we also get to say, I also want to write a book. I also want to have a podcast. I also want to travel, or whatever your thing is. And I think going back to the good girl conditioning and the good girl syndrome, we don't always permission ourselves to do that. It's like, well, I chose this one lane, so I better ride it all the way home and be grateful for it every minute of every day. It's like, no, it gets to be an and. I have my family and I want this. I have this great marriage and I want that. I have this thing in work and I want that. You can even decide. I have one in my mastermind right now, Steph, that is like totally pivoting career from therapist to brand expert. Wow. Because it's like becoming a mom. You like zoom out, you get some perspective, you meet different parts of yourself that you haven't met yet. You're in a little bit different of a context now. And so what you did leading up to this is going to help you in the next thing, but we're not stuck. We get to pivot. We get to change course. We get to add on. We get to explore the things that light us up. And I think that is so important because as women, we are naturally and inherently creative.
Yeah. And to, I guess, like piggyback off of that, I just want to say, like, I'm not working more because I'm doing both. Like, in fact, I'm either working a little less or about the same. Like, I've found through the experience of being a mother, and even before I was learning this lesson, that like, I don't have to do every single role. Like, yes. I don't have to be the only one that feeds my baby. Like, I don't have to be the only one that puts my baby down. Like, I have a partner. I have a brother. I could hire a babysitter or a nanny if I wanted to. Right. And in my business, like, I'm not doing every single function. I have a practice manager. I have a person who does all the scheduling and intakes. I have a COO, a CFO. I'm not the only one holding all of the hats. And I don't need to be the one holding all the hats.
That's so huge. I think motherhood forces us to figure that out.
Yes. Yeah, I can only be in one place at a time.
Yeah, like we're going to need to outsource some things here, babe, because there is just not. So I love that you made that distinction, though. It sounds like I'm doing more. I'm not actually doing more. I'm working less, but I'm outsourcing more and I'm releasing the things that are no longer bringing me joy so that I can make space for the things that are bringing me joy.
Yeah, and I could focus more on the things, not just that bring me joy, but also like another one of my values is like fulfillment. And I don't want to just do a task that doesn't feel unfulfilling. Like, checking whether or not an insurance claim got paid is not fulfilling to me. And I'm in a privileged place where I don't have to check an insurance claim. Like, I can pay someone else to check an insurance claim. And I can spend my time doing great things like this, like talking to Brooke for an hour or recording my own podcast or like all the other things that I feel are much more fulfilling for my energy rather than checking an insurance claim.
Girl. I think I hired your sister for 2 seconds to check insurance claims before I shut my insurance offer down. I think it was up and down within a quarter. I wasn't even doing any work. I just was like, this is just not bringing me joy here, this insurance claim. But it's why I send everybody that needs to use insurance to your practice because I know they're in really good care underneath your brand and your business, honey. So it's been so cool since, first starting to work with you all those years ago when I was in Cherry Creek and then having you in the first cohort of the unPerfected mastermind and like witnessing you and stepping into your leadership and your CEO energy while being a mom. Like, this has been so fulfilling for me. And I'm just so freaking proud of you. And I also know that we're like not even scratching the surface yet of what your legacy will be. And so keep shining bright, keep following your heart. I'm so grateful for you and to have you in my life. And for the listener, make sure that you're checking out her work. Where can people find your workbook? We'll link everything, but where should people come to connect with you right away?
Well, first I want to say thank you, Brooke. That was very nice. I'm not as great at like saying wonderful things, but Brooke is truly amazing. You should definitely sign up to work with her, because she
Mm.
will really help light you up from the inside and like shine your light as bright as you want it to shine. Because I really feel like in postpartum, for me, my light was a little dimmed. So I really appreciate you helping me turn that back on.
Ooh, that means everything. I love how you said that. That's literally my biggest dream, is to just turn all the lights back on. The light that is already within.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how can they connect with you, my love?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at wellmindedcounseling.com. My podcast is on all major platforms, Redefining Us. And my book, Becoming Mommy, or my workbook, Becoming Mommy, is available on all major online realtors, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, Amazon, anywhere you can find a online retailer for books.
Oh, it's so good. Thank you so much for taking the time, my love. And to the mama listening, I hope there was something here that inspired the light in you. And I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, babe, if you made it to this part of the show, I am so freaking happy for you. That means that you are dead serious about healing, revealing, and rising. And just by showing up for yourself in this way, you are sending a beautiful message to yourself and to the universe that you matter, that you are ready for more. And so don't be surprised if things start to flow your way. I would so appreciate it if you would rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify. The more reviews that we have, the more that it gets into the heads and hearts of more high-achieving, high-performing working mamas. Also, we love to get your feedback, so share with us what's landing. You can either DM me on Instagram, I'm at Brooke Jean unPerfected, or you can share a clip that really landed and tag me in it. I want this to be the most extraordinary co-creation where we are in this together, seeing what is possible for women worldwide. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves and therefore each other.